They called me the soft-hearted one in Sunny Vista HOA. So when the board faced losing the entire neighborhood to $320,000 in hidden debt from Karen Whitaker's brilliant investments, I signed everything into my name to save it. But the next morning the president vanished with her husband and son, leaving me with an empty bank account, $23,000 in maxed credit cards, and a handwritten note taped to my front door. Thanks for fixing the HOA credit, loser. That's when I stopped being the good neighbor and became the only survivor. My name is Harper Easton, and after 12-hour ER shifts in Phoenix, I've seen enough blood to know when something's dying. But nothing prepared me for the death I witnessed at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, not of a person but of everything I thought I knew about community. The August heat still clung to my scrubs like regret when I pulled my ancient Honda into the driveway of the house I'd risked everything to protect. The porch light was off. Strange, because even during my night shifts the neighborhood watch app always showed Diane Whitaker's HOA pride spotlight blazing like a fascist lighthouse. My key turned too easily. The door swung open to silence so complete it felt like stepping into a void. No barking dogs. No distant lawnmowers. Just the faint scent of fresh-cut grass that the HOA rules demanded be exactly 2.5 inches. I flipped the light switch. The living room looked normal, my couch, my TV, my nursing textbooks stacked on the coffee table. But something felt wrong. I moved through the house like a sleepwalker, opening drawers, checking closets. Everything was still there. Too still. Then I saw it. A single piece of paper on the kitchen island, held down by my spare HOA key fob. Diane's perfect loops and curves. The same handwriting that had once praised my community spirit in monthly newsletters. Thanks for fixing our HOA credit. We're off to Nevada with Lucas. Don't call. I read it 3 times before the words assembled into meaning. 4 times before my phone buzzed with an email notification. Whitaker Realty. Your listing at 4827 Saguaro Drive is now live for showings. Begin Thursday. My listing. I clicked the link with numb fingers. There it was, my house. Professional photos of every room. Staged like a model home. Listed for $475,000. The description made me want to vomit. Charming family home in established Sunny Vista HOA. Sellers motivated for quick close. Sellers plural. My phone rang. Unknown Nevada number. Against every instinct I answered. Harper. Honey. Diane's voice. Too bright. Too casual. Where are you? We're fine. Sweetie. Martin got a job opportunity in Vegas. With Lucas starting fresh, it's better this way. Better you let the HOA sell the house. The house I know. Dear. We didn't sell anything. We're looking at it like advanced community equity. You'll get your share once it closes. My share. The laugh that came out of me was sharp enough to cut glass. Of the house that's in my name? Silence. Then Martin's voice. Gruff in the background. She knows. Harper. Don't be difficult. Diane's sweetness curdled. We're community. Community helps each other. I've been helping for 7 months. And we appreciate that. But Lucas needs a fresh start. He's been through so much. Lucas. Their 28-year-old golden boy who'd been finding himself since high school. Totaled 3 cars. Had DUIs wiped thanks to Martin's connections. Lived rent-free while I worked doubles. The realtor will handle everything. Just sign when they email you. It's already in motion. Harper, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Harder? You left me a note. We knew you'd be dramatic. You always are. Just like when you insisted on that ridiculous nursing degree instead of marrying the nice HOA-approved boy down the street. But sure, let's relitigate my poor life choices while standing in the house you're trying to steal at 4 a.m. I'm not signing anything. You will. Martin's voice turned cold. Check your credit cards. Harper. Check your bank account. We had to use them for moving expenses. You understand? My hands shook as I pulled up the app. Maxed. Every card maxed. Checking drained to $342. Savings, empty. $23,000. Don't be dramatic. We'll pay you back after the house sells. With my own money from my house. Harper. Don't forget who welcomed you to this community, who gave you everything. The call ended. They hung up on me. I stood in that kitchen where I'd once baked cookies for HOA block parties, where Martin had once lectured me on proper flag etiquette. The silence pressed against my eardrums. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. A photo. Diane, Martin, and Lucas grinning in front of a beige McMansion. Nevada plates on a new SUV. Lucas held up keys like a trophy. Caption. Thanks, neighbor. Community takes care of community. I didn't realize I was on my knees until the cold tile bit through my scrubs. The note lay in front of me. 9 words that ended everything. But as I knelt there, something shifted. The tears didn't come. Instead, a cold, clear purpose crawled up my spine. I stood up, folded the note carefully, and put it in my pocket. Then I walked to my laptop. First things first. Figure out exactly what legal documents had my name on them. Because Diane was wrong about one thing. I wasn't being dramatic. I was just getting started. 7 months. That's how long I'd been bleeding myself dry for them. As I sat on my couch at 5 a.m., laptop warm against my legs, I let myself remember what I'd given up. It started with a phone call in January. I was already rotating extra shifts when Diane's ringtone, a community prayer, filled my car. Harper, dear, I need you to sit down. I'm driving, Diane. We're going to lose the HOA. Her voice cracked with perfect fake tears. Martin made some bad investments. The second mortgage on the common areas. The credit cards. We owe $320,000. The city's starting enforcement next month. The number hit like a defibrillator. How? Does it matter? Martin's voice defensive in the background. Are you going to help or lecture the board? Of course I'll help. The words came out before I could remember I was already drowning. Oh, Harper. I knew we could count on you. You've always been the responsible one. The plan formed over the next week. I'd take over the HOA debt payments personally, help consolidate. With my nursing salary and overtime, we could make it work. They'd contribute what they could from Martin's pension and Diane's part-time consulting. Just until we get back on our feet. Diane promised. 6 months. Maybe 7. I traded my free time for board meetings, picked up every extra shift. You look exhausted, Dr. Martinez said one night as I stumbled through my 4th straight shift. When's the last time you slept? Tuesday or was it Monday? The days blurred. But I could keep going because Diane would text pictures of foreclosure notices on the community center. Because Martin would remind me how the board had welcomed me when I first moved in. Because Lucas, poor Lucas, was too fragile to handle the stress. Lucas, who lived in their basement gaming until 4 a.m., emerging only for meals Diane cooked, whose anxiety prevented him from working but not from driving to Vegas every weekend. Lucas, who needed a new graphics card. It's for my streaming career, Harper. It's an investment. The second month, the heating bill for the common area spiked. The community pool needed new filters. Diane's consulting hours got cut. Maybe just rice and beans this week. I told myself at the grocery store, calculator open, counting pennies. $4,783 for 2 weeks of food. I could make it work. Meanwhile, Diane posted on the Sunny Vista Facebook group photos from their necessary board retreat in Sedona. Martin needed to decompress. She explained when I asked about the hotel charges on the card I was paying off. You understand? I understood the hotel cost more than my food budget for a month. But I smiled because that's what the responsible neighbor does. Month 3, I took a weekend job stocking shelves at Target. Then straight to the hospital. Sleep became a luxury. Coffee became a food group. You've lost weight, Diane observed one morning at the monthly meeting, not looking up from her iPad where she was browsing new HOA rule proposals. Are you eating? I'm fine. Good. Oh, I ordered new banners for the entrance. The old ones were so dated. Only $400. I used your Amazon account. You don't mind, right? We need the neighborhood looking nice. I minded, but Lucas chose that moment to whine about gas money and Diane cooed over him like he was still 12. Harper doesn't mind helping her community brother. Do you? Of course not. I handed over my last $40. Month 4, the second job wasn't enough. I started selling everything. My good jewelry, my barely used KitchenAid, even my grandmother's antique jewelry box I'd held onto for sentiment. You never host anyway, Diane said when she noticed it missing at the next potluck. She was right. When did I have time? I listed items on Marketplace, meeting buyers in the hospital parking lot between shifts. Every penny went to the bottomless pit of HOA debt. We're so grateful, Martin said one night, patting my shoulder as I handed over my latest paycheck. Behind him I saw new golf clubs. Community helps community. Month 5 I got pneumonia. Worked through it coughing into my mask. Mandatory rest. My manager ordered. 3 days without pay. I spent them fever dreaming about numbers. Mortgage equivalent HOA payments. Credit card minimums. Diane brought me soup once, Campbell from a can. You really should take better care of yourself. She'd sked. We need you healthy. Not we love you. We need you functional. We need you producing. Month 6 something shifted. Maybe finding receipts for their steak dinners while I ate ramen. Maybe overhearing Diane on the phone with another board member. Harper's helping out a little. You know how she is. Always trying to be the hero. A little. I'd paid $67,000 of their debt. I'd lost 30 pounds. I'd aged 5 years. But still I kept going. One more month. They're your community. Month 7. Last month. Their credit scores had improved. The HOA was current. We should celebrate, Diane announced at the emergency meeting. A community dinner. Harper, you can cook that lasagna you used to make. I bought the ingredients with my last $20. Spent my only night off making her favorite meal. They ate and laughed and told stories about Lucas's achievements. I sat there hollow, watching them plan their future. Once we're clear, Martin said, we should take a vacation. Harper, you've never been to Europe, right? No, I'd never been anywhere. Too busy saving them. Well, maybe someday, Diane said vaguely. When things are better. Things were improving. I'd made them so. I'd bled, gone without, given up everything for the neighborhood. And my reward? An empty bank account and a note. Thanks for fixing our HOA credit. Loser. I closed my laptop and looked around my still-furnished living room. 7 months of sacrifice. And they'd been planning this the whole time, using me to clean up their mess, restore their credit, make the board bankable again. The responsible one. The soft-hearted one. The stupid one. Not anymore. The memory hit me like a slap at 6 a.m. Just as the sun started bleeding through the windows. The quitclaim deed. My God, the quitclaim deed. It was March, month 3. I just worked a brutal 20-hour stretch. My brain felt like cotton when I stumbled into the community center to find Diane and Martin huddled over paperwork. Faces grave. Harper, perfect timing. We need to talk about protecting the neighborhood. I collapsed into a chair, still in scrubs reeking of antiseptic. What now? Martin pushed papers toward me. The lawyer says if the city forecloses on the common areas they could come after individual homes. But if we transfer the deed to you temporarily, a protective measure. The lawyer called it a quitclaim deed. We sign the house over to you and once this mess is cleared up, you sign it back. I should have asked questions. Should have wondered why a board drowning in debt had money for legal advice. But I was running on 2 hours of sleep and they were looking at me with such hope. Protects all of us, Martin said. The city can't take what we don't own. And you'll transfer it back. Of course, Diane added, gripping my hand. As soon as we're stable, we'd never take advantage. Famous last words. The signing was surreal. A mobile notary came, bored woman smelling of cigarettes. She stamped, collected her fee, which I paid, naturally, and left. There, Diane said, folding her copy. Safe and sound. I took my copy, filed it with my important papers. Just a temporary measure. Community helping community. But now, sitting in my house, that temporary measure might be the only thing standing between me and complete ruin. I pulled out my phone, Googling frantically. Quitclaim deed Arizona law. Property transfer rights. Can the HOA sell a house they don't own? The answers came like shots of adrenaline. No. They couldn't sell what they'd signed away. The deed transfer was complete, legal, binding. They'd need my signature to do anything with this house. My phone rang. The realtor. Ms. Easton. This is Claudia Ramirez. I'm calling about the HOA's house on Saguaro Drive. My house? I corrected. Voice steady. There's been a misunderstanding. I'm sorry. The board hired us to handle the sale. We have a signed contract. Did you verify ownership before taking the listing? Longer pause. They assured us they were the owners. Check the county records. The deed's in my name. Harper Easton. Solo ownership. I will need to verify this. If what you're saying is true, I'm not selling. You'll want to remove that listing immediately unless you enjoy lawsuits. We'll look into this immediately. I apologize for any confusion. Confusion? That's what we're calling fraud now? I ended the call and pulled up the county assessor's website. There it was in black and white. Property deed transfer recorded March 15th. Sunny Vista HOA to Harper Jane Easton. Complete transfer of ownership rights. My phone exploded with calls. Diane, Martin, Lucas, Nevada numbers. I let them all go to voicemail while I did what I should have done months ago. Research. The quitclaim deed was ironclad. They'd transferred all rights, all interest, all claims to the property, trying to protect their asset from creditors. They'd legally given it to me, and unlike what they'd told me, I was under no obligation to transfer it back ever. The voicemails piled up. Harper, there's been a mistake. Call the realtor back right now. Harper, do not embarrass this community. We had an agreement. Harper, seriously, you're really going to steal from the board? Diane again. The realtor says you're claiming the house is yours. Don't be ridiculous. Call me now. Martin, I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now. I listened to each one, saving them all. Evidence. Everything was evidence. Now the phone rang again. This time I answered. Harper. Diane's voice was shrill, panicked. What did you tell the realtor? The truth? I own the house. You signed it over to me in March. To protect it, not to steal it. Steal? I laughed and it sounded unhinged even to me. Like you stole $23,000 from my credit cards. Like you stole 7 months of my life. That's different. We're community. We were in crisis. Past tense. So the crisis is over. Great. Then you don't need to sell my house. Your house? Martin's voice on speaker now. We built this neighborhood. We welcomed you. Changed the rules for you. And I paid the HOA debt for 7 months. Cleared your mess. Destroyed my health. Where's my payment for that? We're offering you a share of the sale of my own house. How generous. Harper Jane Easton. Diane's voice turned to ice. You will call that realtor back. Or I will what? What will you do? Sue me? Please use what money, the $23,000 you stole from my cards. The money from the secret Nevada house. Silence. Then Lucas in the background. It's not a secret house. It's an investment property. An investment property. While I was selling my jewelry to keep the community lights on, they were buying investment properties with my money. Here's what's going to happen, I said, calm, surprising even me. The realtor will remove the listing. You will not contact them again. You will not try to access my property. And if you show up here, I'll call the police. You'd call the police on your own board president? Diane's Wounded Bird Act was in full effect. You left me a note. Don't call. Remember? I'm just following instructions. That's not what we meant. Then what did you mean? Help me understand how you accidentally signed over the deed, accidentally maxed out my credit cards, accidentally bought property in Nevada, and accidentally left in the middle of the night like thieves. We're not thieves. We're your community leaders. No, you're grifters who happen to run the HOA. There's a difference. Martin's voice turned threatening. You think you're so smart? We know things. We have copies of everything. The original HOA lien is still in our names. We can make your life hell. The original lien you couldn't pay. The one I've been paying. Please make my life hell. Let's go to court. Let's put everything on record. The 7 months of payments. The credit card fraud. The quitclaim deed you signed willingly. Let's make it all public. More silence. In the background, Lucas whined this wasn't fair. That I'd ruined everything. You have 3 days, Diane finally said, voice deadly quiet, to come to your senses. 3 days or you're dead to this community. I've been dead to you for months. You just kept my corpse around to pay bills. The call ended. I sat in my living room, phone in one hand, quitclaim deed in the other. 3 days. They'd given me 3 days to fold, to go back to being the responsible one, the soft-hearted one. They had no idea what 3 days would bring. What I could accomplish when I wasn't killing myself to save people who saw me as nothing but a wallet with a pulse. I opened my laptop again. Time to find out exactly what other surprises they'd left in their wake. By 10 a.m., I turned my dining table into a war room. Laptop at center, papers spreading like battle plans. Every new discovery felt like another knife between my ribs. The house sale contract the realtor had pulled before they yanked the listing was dated 3 weeks ago. The same day I'd brought Diane groceries because she couldn't afford gas. The same day she'd hugged me and said, I don't know what the community would do without you, sweetheart. She'd known. She'd looked me in the eye, taken my groceries, and known she'd already signed papers to sell my house out from under me. My credit card statements told a story of systematic betrayal. The charges went back further than moving expenses. While I ate rice and beans, they'd lived well. March 3rd, $847 at best by the day after I'd skipped lunch. March 15th, $1,200 at Pottery Barn while I sold my grandmother's mixer. March 22nd, $650 at a steakhouse in Vegas. I'd eaten ramen that week. April 10th, $3,000 cash advance when I worked 4 doubles. April 18th, $100 at a furniture store in Henderson, Nevada. They'd been furnishing their new McMansion with my credit while I slept on the same couch I'd had for years. My phone buzzed. A notification from the Sunny Vista HOA Facebook group. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Lucas had posted a photo album. New life, new vibes. 23 photos. Their new house, beige McMansion with 3-car garage. Diane posing by granite countertops. Martin with new golf clubs on a manicured lawn. Lucas sprawled on a massive sectional I recognized from my credit card statement. Comments flowed. So happy for you guys. Fresh starts are everything. Diane, that kitchen, about time Lucas got out of that basement. That basement. The one beneath the house I'd risked everything to protect. I scrolled more. Diane had been busy. God closes doors to open better ones. Feeling blessed. Sometimes you have to leave toxicity behind, even if it means making hard choices. So grateful for our real support system. You know who you are. Toxicity. I was toxicity now. The real gut punch came from a post dated 2 weeks ago. Prayer warriors, please lift up our community. We're dealing with a difficult situation with someone we trusted. Sometimes the people you sacrifice everything for turn out to be the most ungrateful, but we're choosing forgiveness and moving forward. 78 reactions. 42 comments of support. While I worked myself to death, she'd been laying groundwork, painting me as the villain. I screenshotted everything. Every post. Every photo. Every lying word. My laptop dinged. Email from Claudia Ramirez. Miss Easton, I verified the property records. You are indeed the sole owner of 4827 Saguaro Drive. I sincerely apologize for the confusion. The listing has been removed and we've terminated our contract with Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker. I must inform you that they were very insistent about the sale and had already accepted a cash offer of $462,000. The buyers are understandably upset. If you decide to sell in the future, please consider us. Also, I feel obligated to mention that the Whitakers suggested you were mentally unstable and had stolen the house through community abuse. I've made it clear any further defamatory statements could result in legal action. Community abuse. They were telling people I'd committed community abuse. Diane was 58, Martin 61, both healthy as horses, and they were claiming community abuse. Another email popped up from a law firm in Nevada. Dear Miss Easton, we represent Martin and Diane Whitaker in the matter of property at 4827 Saguaro Drive. Our clients maintain the transfer of deed was executed under duress and false pretenses. They are prepared to pursue legal action unless you agree to an immediate reversal. Please contact within 48 hours. I laughed. Actually laughed. They'd hired a lawyer. With what money? Oh right, the money they saved by stealing from me. Time for my own documentation. I pulled up my bank statements highlighting every payment I'd made. $47,000 in HOA debt payments, $20,000 in credit card payments, 7 months of utilities, groceries, repairs, all for my accounts. Then the text messages I'd saved. Diane, January. Harper dear, we're desperate. Just a few months of help. February, you're saving the community. We'll never forget this. Martin, March. The deed transfer is just paperwork. You trust us, right? Diane, April. Can you grab groceries again? We're a little short. Lucas, April. Hey neighbor, can you spot me $200? Job interview in Vegas. My phone rang. Unknown Phoenix number. Hello, Harper. This is Janet from HR at Phoenix General. My stomach dropped. Have they called my job? We received a concerning call about your mental state. The caller claimed to be your HOA president. Said you were having a breakdown. Of course they had. Janet, I appreciate you checking. My HOA board and I are having a property dispute. They're upset and retaliating. I'm fine and I'll be at my shift tonight. I'm glad to hear that. But the caller made serious allegations. Said you were stealing from the community, that you might be dangerous to patients. My vision went red. Janet, I need to be very clear. The board transferred property to me willingly to avoid creditors. Now they're angry I won't transfer it back. I have all the documentation. If they call again, please refer them to legal. I hung up and immediately called my bank. Time to protect what little I had left. Yes, I need to report $23,000 in fraudulent charges and lock my accounts from external access. While I waited on hold, more texts flooded in. Diane, you have no idea what you've started. Martin, answer your phone now. Lucas, mom's crying. Hope you're happy. Diane, the buyers are threatening to sue. You'll be responsible. Martin, last chance. I documented everything. Every threat, every lie, every manipulation. The bank rep finally came on. How can I help? I need to report $23,000 in fraudulent charges. The perpetrators had access to my personal information. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you know who might have done this? I stared at the family photo still hanging on the wall, the only thing they'd left behind. For smiling faces at last year's HOA holiday party. Diane's arms around me. Martin's proud grin. Lucas making bunny ears. Yes, I said, voice steady. I know exactly who did it. As I detailed each fraudulent charge, something crystallized in my chest. They hadn't just stolen money. They'd stolen my trust, my health, my faith in community. They'd watched me destroy myself while planning their escape. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd taught me exactly who they were. And now I knew exactly who I needed to become. The locksmith arrived at 2 p.m. A burly guy named Marcus who took one look at my still-furnished house and didn't ask questions. Changing all the locks, he confirmed, already unloading tools. Everything. Doors, windows, garage. I need the best deadbolts you have. Bad breakup. Something like that. While he worked, I called a security company. Within hours, I had cameras covering every angle, motion sensors, and a system that would alert my phone if anyone breathed on my property. The installation was easy, no HOA board members to work around, just walls and determination. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing. 17 missed calls from Diane, 23 from Martin, 41 texts ranging from pleading to threatening to completely unhinged. Diane, the motel is disgusting. How could you do this to your community? Martin, you're destroying the neighborhood. Lucas, I can't believe you're this selfish. I defended you for years. Diane, your grandmother would be ashamed. Martin, we're calling an emergency board meeting. You will attend. Diane, fine. Don't answer, but remember we know where you work. That last one made me pause. They'd already called my job once. The security installer, a young woman named Maria, noticed my expression. You okay? Yeah, just HOA drama. She glanced at the cameras. The kind of board that requires a full security system. The kind that thinks boundaries are suggestions. Been there. She showed me the app. How to download footage. Set alerts. The camera saved to the cloud for 30 days. That's usually enough for restraining orders. By evening the house felt different. Still mine, but protected. The new keys were heavy in my hand, weightier than the responsibility I'd carried for 7 months. I was heating soup when headlights swept across the kitchen window. My phone lit up with a security alert. Motion detected at front door. The doorbell rang, then pounding. Harper, open this door right now. Martin's voice loud enough to wake the neighbors. I pulled up the camera feed. All 3 of them stood on my porch. Diane had clearly been crying. Makeup smeared, usually perfect hair disheveled. Martin's face red with rage. Lucas lurked behind, hands in pockets, looking like he'd rather be gaming. I know you're in there, Diane. Your car's in the driveway. I watched them through the camera, fascinated by this new perspective. How many times had I opened that door the moment they knocked? How many times had I let them in without question? Martin tried his old key. It scraped uselessly against the new deadbolt. She changed the locks, Lucas said, stating the obvious. I can see that. Martin snapped. He pounded harder. Harper, this is ridiculous. We need to talk. Mrs. Chun from next door peeked out her window. Great. Now the whole neighborhood would know. I activated the intercom. Please leave. You're trespassing. Trespassing? Diane's voice cracked. This is our community. No, this is my house. Has been since March 15th. That was temporary. You know that. Like my credit cards were temporary. Like the 7 months of payments were temporary. We'll pay you back with what? The money from the Nevada house you bought while I was starving? Silence. Then Martin, quieter but more menacing. Open this door or things get worse. Are you threatening me because you're on camera and this is all being recorded? He stepped back instinctively, looking around for the cameras. The IR lights gave them away, little red dots in the darkness. Harper, please. Diane switched to wounded voice. We're staying at a Motel 6. It's awful. There are unsavory people. Is that what you want? Your board president in danger? You chose to leave. You chose Nevada. You chose to steal from me. Every choice has consequences. We're community. She wailed. No. Community doesn't forge signatures on credit applications. Community doesn't plan secret moves while taking money. Community doesn't leave notes calling their neighbor a loser. Lucas finally spoke. That was a joke. You know Mom's humor. Humor. Which part was funny? The $23,000 in debt. The lies? Look, Martin tried reason. His lawyer voice. We made mistakes. But throwing us out solves nothing. Let us in. We'll figure this out together. Together like we figured out the debt together with my money. Like we handled the crisis together with my sacrifices. I've initiated fraud charges with the credit card companies. My lawyer will be contacting yours. That's all the together we need. Your lawyer? Diane laughed bitterly. With what money? The equity in this house should cover it nicely. The silence stretched. I watched them absorb that. The house they tried to sell now working against them. You take out a loan on the community house? Diane played her last emotional card. The house we all loved. The house you tried to sell to strangers for cash. That house. More silence on the camera. I could see neighbors gathering, pretending to check mail or water plants. The Whitaker family drama live and in color. We'll contest the deed, Martin said finally. Undue influence, mental incapacity, community abuse. Take your pick. Please do. I'd love a judge to see the 7 months of bank records, the credit fraud, the Facebook posts from your new house. Those posts don't prove the furniture receipts matching my credit card statements. The closing documents on the Nevada house dated while you were supposedly broke. The text messages begging me for grocery money while you were at steakhouses. Lucas kicked at the doormat. This is insane. All this over money. No, Lucas. All this over betrayal. All this over being used. All this over being called a loser after saving you. We never asked you to save us. Diane screamed suddenly, composure cracking. You chose to help. You always have to be the hero, the martyr, the good neighbor. Well, congratulations. You win. You have your empty bank account. Happy now? I considered that. Was I happy? No. But I was free. Free from the expectation to light myself on fire to keep the community warm. Free from the guilt, the manipulation, the endless taking. I'm getting there, I said honestly. Martin grabbed Diane's arm. Come on. She's made her choice. This isn't over. Diane hissed at the camera. You think you're so smart, but you're all alone. No community, no support, just your house and your pride. They walked away. Diane stumbling, Martin rigid with fury, Lucas trailing like always. I watched until their rental car disappeared, then checked all the other cameras. Clear. I sat down on the floor, back against the wall, and finally let myself feel the weight of it. They were right about one thing. I was alone. But alone was starting to feel less like punishment and more like possibility. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it, assuming it was them from a new phone. But it wasn't. Harper, this is Janet Chun from next door. Saw the commotion. Are you okay? I have leftover casserole if you're hungry. I stared at the text, vision blurring. Kindness from someone who owed me nothing. Expected nothing. Thank you, I texted back. I'm okay, but casserole sounds wonderful. Maybe I wasn't as alone as they thought. Maybe I never had been. I'd just been looking for community in the wrong place. The casserole from Mrs. Chun was the first real meal I'd had in days. She didn't just drop it off. She stayed, sitting on my floor, pretending not to notice the tension while sharing stories about her own HOA battles. By the time she left, I had 3 more neighbors' phone numbers and a standing invitation to Sunday dinner. Word traveled fast. By the end of the week, the house had become less empty. Not with things, those would come later, but with kindness. Dr. Martinez from work showed up with folding chairs and a card table. "Heard you needed furniture," he said gruffly. The ER nurses pulled together and bought me a new coffee maker. Someone left a note. "Everyone deserves morning coffee." It was Thursday when I decided to transform the spare room, the one Lucas had used as a gaming den during visits. Of all the rooms, it held the worst memories. The smell of entitlement. I started by opening every window, letting Arizona sunshine flood the space that had been dark for so long. With each strip of old carpet I pulled, I felt lighter. This wasn't destruction. It was excavation. My phone rang as I was hauling carpet to the dumpster. Sarah, my best friend from nursing school I'd lost touch with during the 7-month nightmare. "Harper Easton, you answer this phone right now or I'm driving over." "Sarah, don't you Sarah me? I just saw Diane's Facebook post. What the hell is happening?" I set down the carpet roll. "You saw them. Everyone saw them. She's painting you as some kind of monster who stole the neighborhood." "Harper, what really happened?" So I told her everything. The debt, the salvation campaign, the quitclaim deed, the midnight escape, the note. By the end, she was swearing creatively enough to make a sailor blush. "I'm coming over. No arguments. And I'm bringing wine and my husband's truck." "Why the truck?" "Because you need furniture and I know people." She wasn't kidding. Within hours, my house had become a staging ground. Sarah had activated the nurse network, that underground economy of healthcare workers who'd seen too much to let one of their own suffer. A couch appeared from someone's recent divorce. A dining set from another's downsizing. "We take care of our own," Sarah said, directing traffic like a general. Something your board never understood. By Saturday, the transformation was remarkable. Not just the furniture, but the feeling. My colleagues had done more than fill empty rooms. They'd shown me what actual community looked like. I was arranging donated books on a shelf when my security app alerted me to motion at the front door. But instead of the Whitakers, it was a process server. "Harper Easton." "Yes, you've been served." The lawsuit was exactly what Martin had threatened. Community abuse, undue influence, fraud. They'd thrown everything at the wall hoping something would stick. But reading through their lawyer's complaint, I almost laughed. Their own filing admitted I'd paid the HOA debt, admitted the credit cards were in my name, admitted they'd signed the deed transfer. My new lawyer, recommended by the hospital's legal team and working on contingency, was gleeful when I showed her. They admitted to the fraud in writing, Margaret Reeves said, adjusting her glasses. "They're claiming you tricked them into signing over the house, but then they detail how they used your credit cards without permission. It's like they're prosecuting themselves. So what happens now? Now we countersue. Fraud, theft, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The works." She pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me about the Nevada house." "The discovery process would be beautiful," she assured me. "Their financial records, the Nevada house purchase, the timeline of their deceit, all of it would become evidence." That night, I sat in my newly furnished living room looking around at proof that kindness existed. My phone had been quiet for hours. No more threats. No more manipulation. They'd fired their shot with a lawsuit. Now it was my turn. I opened my laptop and began writing. Not a legal document, Margaret would handle those. But something more important. A letter to myself documenting everything I'd learned. That community isn't defined by HOA badges but by actions. That helping someone doesn't mean enabling their destruction. That saying no isn't selfish. It's survival. That empty spaces can be filled with better things. That starting over at 35 isn't failure. It's courage. My security app buzzed, motion at the back door. I pulled up the feed, expecting another neighbor with casserole. It was Lucas alone. He stood in the backyard staring at the house like he'd never seen it before. Part of me wanted to ignore him, but curiosity won. I activated the intercom. It's locked. Lucas. He jumped, looking around for the camera. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? He shoved his hands in his pockets. I wanted to see it. The room. My old room. Why? Because his voice cracked. Because I think I left more than just stuff down there. I watched him through the camera. He looked smaller somehow, diminished without Diane and Martin as backdrop. It's gone, I said simply. I renovated it. It's my office now. He nodded slowly. Good. That's good. He turned to leave, then stopped. Harper, for what it's worth. The note was Mom's idea. The whole thing was. Dad went along with it. But Mom, she planned it all. And you? What was your role? He looked directly at the camera. I was exactly what I've always been. A coward who let it happen. He left without another word. I sat with that for a while, his admission hanging in the air. It didn't change anything. Didn't erase the betrayal or the debt or the months of suffering. But it was something, an acknowledgement, a crack in their unified front. I looked around my house, my home filled with gifts from people who barely knew me but cared more than the board ever had. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and battles and the exhausting work of rebuilding. But tonight I was home, really truly home, in a house that was legally, emotionally, and finally mine. And that empty room in the basement, it wasn't empty anymore. It was full of possibilities, of new beginnings, of space for a life I was just beginning to imagine. The community I'd lost had made room for the community I'd found. And that trade was worth everything. The call came at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, 3 weeks after the lawsuit was filed. I was reviewing patient charts for my shift. Finally back to normal hours instead of the killing pace I'd maintained for 7 months. Unknown Nevada number. I almost didn't answer, but morbid curiosity made me pick up. Harper. Diane's voice. Different, smaller, deflated. What do you want? We need to come home. No preamble. No manipulation. Just exhaustion. This isn't your home anymore. I know. The admission surprised me. I mean, we need to come back to Phoenix. The Nevada house, we lost it. I set down my charts. Lost it. You just bought it. With what we thought the sale would bring. The buyers put down a deposit. We used it for our down payment, but when the sale fell through a shaky breath. The mortgage company wants their money. We can't pay. Lucas lost another job. Your father's pension isn't enough. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. They'd stolen from me to buy a house they couldn't afford, assuming they could sell mine to cover it. A house of cards built on my foundation. That's not my problem. I know that too. Another surprise. Diane acknowledging responsibility. Harper, I'm not calling to ask for money. I'm calling to tell you we're dropping the lawsuit. I stayed silent, waiting for the catch. Our lawyer says we can't win. Says we admitted too much in the filing. Says you could countersue and win big. Her voice dropped. Says we could face criminal charges for the credit card fraud. Your lawyer's right. I know. A long pause. We're staying at the Desert Palm Motel on McDowell week to week. Your father's pride is it's gone. Lucas won't leave the room. And you what? I can't sleep. I keep thinking about that note. Thanks for fixing our HOA credit. Loser. I wrote that. I actually wrote that to my neighbor who was killing herself to save us. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Can we meet? Not at the house. Somewhere public. Just to talk. Why? Because I owe you an explanation. A real one. And because her voice broke. Because I'm scared. Harper. For the first time in my life, I'm really scared. Against every instinct, I agreed. Denny's on baseline. Thursday at 2 p.m. Just you. Just me. She agreed. Thursday came too fast. I arrived early, choosing a booth with a view of the parking lot. Margaret had advised against meeting her, but I needed closure. Or maybe I needed to see what accountability looked like on my former president's face. She looked 10 years older. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by Walmart basics. Her perfect hair hung limp. Her hands shook as she slid into the booth. "You look good," she said quietly. "Healthy. Amazing what eating regular meals and sleeping does for a person." She flinched but didn't defend herself. We ordered coffee. She stared at hers like it held answers. "I've been thinking about your grandmother," she finally said. "My mother always said I was too proud, too concerned with appearances, said it would cost me someday. Grandma was smart. She left the community rules to your father and me. But she made me promise to always keep room for good neighbors like you. Harper's special," she said. "She has a servant's heart. Don't take advantage of that." "But you did." "We did." She met my eyes for the first time. "I did. Every time you offered help I took more. Every time you sacrificed I let you. And when the bills came due, when we were drowning," she laughed bitterly. "I convinced myself we deserved a fresh start, that you were young, you could rebuild, that it was just money. It was never just money. I know that now. When we got to Nevada, when I was unpacking in that house bought with your credit, hanging pictures with money from your accounts, I couldn't do it. The house felt like a tomb. But you stayed. Pride. Stupid. Destructive pride. Your father kept saying we'd made our choice. Lucas was excited about his new gaming setup. Her voice turned bitter. A gaming setup bought while you were selling your jewelry. The coffee grew cold between us. Life went on, families eating lunch, friends laughing, normal people living normal lives. The plan, she continued, was to sell the house quick, pay you back with interest, and pretend it was all a business arrangement. We told ourselves you'd understand, that community helps community. I did help community for 7 months. No. She shook her head. You helped parasites. That's what we became. What I let us become. Why tell me this now? She pulled out an envelope, slid it across the table. The fraud charges, if you file them, will plead guilty. Your father doesn't know I'm telling you this. He still thinks we can fight, can spin this somehow. But I'm done spinning. I opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten confession detailing every fraudulent charge, every lie, every manipulation, signed and dated. This could send you to jail. Maybe that's what I deserve. She stood, leaving her untouched coffee. The motel, room 237, will be there for another week. Then I don't know, your father's brother in Ohio maybe. Lucas is talking about the military if they'll take him with his record. Diane. The word felt strange in my mouth. What do you want from me? She considered the question. Nothing. For the first time in your life, I want absolutely nothing from you. I just wanted you to know that I know. I know what we did. I know what we lost. And I know it's entirely our fault. She walked away, leaving me with the confession and the bill. I watched her get into a beaten-down sedan. No more luxury SUV. She didn't look back. I sat there for another hour reading and rereading her confession. Margaret would want this immediately. It was everything we needed for the countersuit. Admission of guilt, details of fraud, a clear paper trail. But something had shifted. Not forgiveness. I wasn't there yet. Might never be. But the anger that had been burning so hot had cooled into something else. Pity maybe. Or just exhaustion. My phone buzzed. Sarah texting. How did it go? Do I need bail money? No violence. Just truth. That's worse sometimes. Yes. Yes, it was. I paid the bill and left. Confession in hand. Tomorrow I decide what to do with it. Tonight I just wanted to go home, to my home, to the life I was building on a foundation that for the first time actually belonged to me. The Desert Palm Motel looked exactly as depressing as it sounded when I drove past on my way home. 3 figures visible in the window of room 237. My former community, soon to be strangers. I didn't stop. There was nothing left to say. The rain started at 6 p.m. Unusual for Phoenix in May. By 8 p.m. it was a steady downpour, the kind that floods streets and turns the desert into a temporary lake. I was making dinner, actual dinner with vegetables and protein, not ramen, when the doorbell rang. The security camera showed all 3 of them soaked through, huddled under the small porch overhang. They looked like drowned rats. Expensive Nevada dreams washed away by Arizona rain. I didn't move, just watched them on my phone screen, waiting. Martin rang again, then knocked. "Harper, please. We just want to talk." Lucas was shivering. Diane's makeup ran in black streaks down her face. They'd walked here. I could see no car in the driveway. 5 minutes passed. 10. They didn't leave. Finally, I activated the intercom. "What do you want? Can we come in?" Diane's voice barely audible over the rain. "Please. Why should I let you in?" "Because," Martin said, his usual authority stripped away. "We have nowhere else to go. I could have left them there. Should have. Maybe. But something, call it weakness, call it closure, made me unlock the door." They stood in my foyer, dripping on hardwood floors they'd once tried to claim. The house they'd abandoned was now their refuge. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. "Stay there," I said. Getting towels from the bathroom Sarah had helped me stock. Basic human decency, nothing more. They dried off in silence, taking in the transformation, the furnished rooms, the photos on walls, not of them, but of my hospital family, my real support system, the life I'd built in the ruins they'd left behind. "It looks good," Diane said quietly. "Like a home." "It is a home. My home." I led them to the living room, gestured to the couch Sarah had sourced. They sat like children in the principal's office. Back straight, hands folded. I took the chair across from them, the coffee table between us like a negotiation barrier. "Talk," I said simply. Martin cleared his throat. "The motel kicked us out. We couldn't pay for another week." "Where's your car?" "Repossessed this morning," Lucas mumbled. "Right from the parking lot. And you walked here in the rain to the house you tried to steal." "We didn't have anywhere else." Martin started. "Don't." I held up a hand. "Don't you dare say you had nowhere else to go. You had a house in Nevada. You had retirement accounts. You had my credit cards. You had choices." Silence except for the rain drumming on the roof. "Show her," Diane said quietly to Martin. He pulled out a manila folder, water-spotted but intact, slid it across the coffee table. Inside were documents, bankruptcy papers, notices of default, collection letters, and photographs. I spread them out piece by piece, their whole fantasy laid bare in bureaucratic black and white. The Nevada house purchased with a subprime loan based on falsified income. The credit cards, multiple new ones opened in their names after mine were maxed. All defaulted. The cash advances that had seemed so easy when it wasn't their credit being destroyed. "We thought we were so smart," Diane said. "Thought we'd figured out the system. Turns out the system's better at this than we were," Martin added bitterly. The photos were the worst part. Not because they showed luxury, but because they showed delusion. Them posing in the Nevada house like they'd made it. Lucas with his new gaming setup, grinning. The happy community who just pulled off the perfect escape. Except the photos were dated 2 weeks ago and already the dream was dead. "What do you want me to say?" I asked. "That I'm sorry? That I forgive you? That community helps community?" "No." Diane's voice was steady. "We want to show you something else." She pulled out another folder. This one neat, organized. Inside was every receipt, every bank statement, Every piece of evidence documenting what I'd paid. My 7 months of sacrifice itemized and totaled. $73,847, she said. That's what you paid total. Mortgage equivalent, utilities, credit cards, everything. You kept track? I started in Nevada. Couldn't sleep. So I went through everything. Added it all up. Every penny you spent saving us while we were planning to abandon you. Why? Because I needed to see it. The number. The actual cost of what we did. She pulled out one more paper. This is a promissory note. Legal and binding. We owe you $73,847 plus interest. Witnessed. Notarized. I looked at the note. You're bankrupt. This is worthless. Now it is, Martin said. But bankruptcy doesn't discharge debts based on fraud. Margaret Reeves made sure we understood that. This debt follows us forever. Margaret, my lawyer, they've been talking to my lawyer. She says if we cooperate fully, provide all documentation about the fraud, testify if needed, the criminal charges might be reduced to misdemeanors, probation instead of jail time. And you want my cooperation in exchange for what? This worthless promise to pay. No. Lucas spoke up for the first time. We want you to know we understand what we took. What it cost. Not just money, everything. I studied them. 3 people who'd once run my whole world. Who I'd have died for 7 months ago. Who'd almost killed me with their greed. Diane told me what you said. I told Lucas that night in the backyard about being a coward. He nodded. I was but I'm trying to be different. How? I enlisted. Marines. Ship out in 3 weeks if I pass the physical. He managed a weak smile. Turns out when you have nothing, the military looks pretty good. And you too? I've got a job interview tomorrow, Diane said. Walmart overnight stocking. Your father's applying for security work. How the mighty have fallen. No, Martin corrected. How the corrupt have been exposed. There's a difference. We sat in silence. The rain had softened to a drizzle. In the kitchen my dinner was getting cold. My phone buzzed with texts from Sarah checking in. My real life calling. You need a place to stay. I said it wasn't a question. Yes, Diane admitted. I stood, walked to my new home office, Lucas's former cave. From the desk drawer I pulled out a business card. Extended Stay America. McDowell and 44th. I called them this afternoon. I handed Diane the card. 3 nights are paid for. That's all. You knew we'd come here? Diane called Tuesday. The motel only rents by the week. It wasn't hard to figure out. But why help at all? I thought about that. About the 7 months of hell. About the note. About choosing to be better than what they taught me. Because someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to be what community should actually be. And because 3 nights in a motel costs less than what you stole from my credit cards in a single day. They stood to leave. Diane hugged the towel around her shoulders. Martin gathered the worthless documents. Lucas looked around the room one more time. At the door I handed them an umbrella. My last one. Harper, Diane started. 3 nights after that, you're on your own. Really on your own. No calls, no visits, no manipulation. You figure out your life without making me collateral damage. We understand, Martin said. No, you don't. Not yet. But maybe someday. I watched them walk away, sharing one umbrella against the rain. 3 broken people who'd broken me in return, who'd taught me the hardest lesson of my life. That love without boundaries is just self-destruction with a prettier name. When they were gone I locked the door, set the alarm, and returned to my cold dinner, reheated it, ate it slowly, tasting every bite. Tomorrow they'd be gone. Really gone this time. And I'd continue building this life, this home, this version of myself that knew how to help without drowning. The rain stopped. A perfect Arizona sunset painted the sky. Felt like a beginning. The extended stay America was exactly what it sounded like. A way station for the displaced, the temporary, the in-between. I'd paid for 3 nights. No more, no less. It was more than they deserved but less than my conscience required. I sat in my home office that evening, the room that had once been Lucas's cave, spreading documents across the desk. Everything they'd shown me plus what Margaret had uncovered through discovery. The paper trail of their deception was complete now, a forensic accounting of betrayal. The promissory note sat in the center, their signatures still wet-looking under the desk lamp. $73,847. Every penny documented, witnessed, notarized, worthless now, but maybe someday. No, I stopped that thought. There would be no someday. No waiting for redemption. No hoping for repayment. That was the old Harper, the one who lit herself on fire to keep others warm. My phone rang. Margaret, they came to your house. Not a question. You knew they would? I advised them to. Better than them showing up randomly, control the interaction. Is that what that was? Control. You gave them 3 nights in a motel instead of calling the police. I'd say you controlled it perfectly. I spun in my chair looking around the room I'd transformed. Where gaming posters had hung now diplomas and certifications. Where empty energy drink cans had littered now neat files of my new life's documentation. They want to cooperate, I said. Full disclosure for reduced charges. I know. They've already started. Your father sent over bank records this afternoon. Your mother provided a timeline. Lucas wrote a confession that would make a prosecutor weep with joy. And it's your choice. We can pursue criminal charges that would likely result in jail time, or we can accept their cooperation, file for restitution through bankruptcy court, and let them disappear. What do you recommend as your lawyer? Take the deal. You'll get a judgment for the full amount that follows them forever. They'll have criminal records that make fraud impossible in the future, and you can move on. And as a human being, as a human being, I think you've already decided. She was right. I decided the moment I'd handed them that umbrella. Send me the paperwork. The next 3 days passed in a blur of normalcy. I worked my shifts, had dinner with Sarah, started painting the kitchen a warm yellow that would have horrified Diane's beige sensibilities. I didn't drive by the extended stay, didn't check in, didn't wonder. On the morning of the 4th day, my security app alerted me to motion at the front door. Not them, just a package. Inside was the original quitclaim deed, the one they'd kept. A sticky note in Diane's handwriting. You should have all the originals. That was it. No plea, no manipulation, no dramatic goodbye, just the return of what was mine. I filed it with the others and went to work. 2 weeks later, Margaret called with an update. They'd completed their part of the deal. Every document provided, every question answered, every fraudulent transaction detailed. In exchange, misdemeanor charges, probation, and restitution orders they'd spend a lifetime trying to fulfill. Where are they now? I asked. Not sure why I wanted to know. Ohio. According to the last filing, your father's brother took them in. Lucas made it to basic training. Your parents are working minimum wage jobs. And the house, the Nevada house, foreclosed, sold at auction. The buyers who put down the deposit are suing them, but can't get blood from a stone. A house of cards collapsed completely. There's one more thing, Margaret said. Your mother included a letter with the final documents. I'm supposed to give it to you only if you ask for it. Do I want it? That's not for me to say. I thought about it through my shift, through dinner, through the evening. Finally at midnight I texted Margaret. Bring the letter tomorrow. It was waiting on my desk when I got home from work. A plain envelope, my name in Diane's careful script. I made coffee before opening it. Needing the ritual, the warmth. Harper, I won't ask for forgiveness. That's not what this is. I taught you the rules in this neighborhood. Your father taught you to ride a bike in that driveway. Lucas broke his arm falling from the oak tree in the backyard. Do you remember? You held his hand in the ambulance. We were a community once. Before the greed, before the lies, before I forgot that you were a person and not a resource, before I wrote that note. I dream about that note. Thanks for fixing our HOA credit. Loser. 9 words that destroyed 7 months. I wrote it thinking I was clever. Thinking we'd pulled off something smart. Thinking you'd never really walk away from community. I was right about one thing. You didn't walk away. You stood your ground. You became what we should have been. Strong, honest, whole. The house is yours. Not just legally, morally, completely. Forever yours. Make it what we never could, a real home. Don't look for us. Don't follow our collapse. Don't carry our failures. Live, Harper. Live the life we nearly stole from you. I taught you the rules in that neighborhood, but you taught yourself to survive. And that's the only lesson that matters. Diane. P.S. The agaves need pruning in October. You always forgot. I read it twice, then fed it to the shredder. Not from anger. There was none left. But because some words are meant to be released, not kept. Outside, monsoon season was building, the desert preparing for its annual renewal. I walked through my house, my home, touching walls that had witnessed betrayal and recovery in equal measure. In the kitchen where she once dictated potluck menus, I made dinner for 1 and ate in peaceful silence. In the driveway where Martin once lectured on proper parking, I parked my reliable Honda and felt grateful for transportation that was mine. By the oak tree where Lucas broke his arm, I planted new flowers. Bright yellows and bold reds that would have clashed with Diane's aesthetic. And in October I'd forget to prune the agaves just like always, because some patterns are worth breaking, and others, the harmless ones, the ones that make us human, are worth keeping. The Whitakers were gone. Had been gone since that night they left a note and ran. What had visited my doorstep in the rain were just echoes, shadows of people I'd once trusted. But Harper Easton remained, stronger, clearer, free. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The Arizona morning painted the walls gold through windows I'd learned to call mine. 6 months had passed since that night in the rain. 6 months since I'd handed them an umbrella and 3 nights of shelter. 6 months of silence. I stood in my kitchen, coffee in hand, watching the neighborhood wake up. Mrs. Chun was watering her garden. The Thompson kids were loading bikes onto their dad's truck. Normal life. Beautiful, ordinary life. My phone buzzed. Sarah texting about tonight's potluck. The ER crew had adopted monthly gatherings, rotating houses. Tonight was mine. I'd cooked Diane's lasagna recipe, the one good thing I'd kept from before. The doorbell interrupted my menu planning. Too early for deliveries. I checked the security feed and froze. A young woman stood on my porch, mid-20s, nervous, holding an envelope. She looked familiar in a way that made my chest tight. I opened the door cautiously. Can I help you? Harper Easton? Yes. I'm Jennifer Martinez. I bought the house, the one in Nevada at the foreclosure auction. My grip on the door tightened. I see. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said quickly. I found some things when I was cleaning out the garage. Things I thought you should have. She held out the envelope. Inside were photographs, old ones. My grandmother young and laughing. My first birthday. Christmas mornings before greed rewrote our story. At the bottom, my nursing school graduation. Martin's proud smile. Diane's tears. Lucas giving me bunny ears. There's a box in my car, Jennifer said. More photos. Some books with your name in them. A jewelry box that looks antique. Grandma's jewelry box. The one Diane had claimed was lost in a move years ago. Why bring these to me? Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. The neighbors told me the story. What happened? I'm a nurse too. Actually, just started at Valley Medical. When I heard what you went through, she shrugged. Family photos shouldn't be casualties of HOA wars. I looked at this stranger who'd driven from Nevada to return memories, who'd taken time from her life to bring pieces of mine back. Would you like coffee? Her face lit up. Really? Really? And maybe you can stay for dinner. I'm having a potluck. Fair warning, it's mostly ER staff. We're a little crazy. I work trauma. Crazy is my specialty. We carried the box inside together. She helped me sort through years of captured moments. Birthdays, holidays, random Tuesdays when someone thought to grab a camera. Each photo a small grief, a tiny reconciliation. This one's beautiful, Jennifer said, holding up a photo of teenage me with my grandmother in this very kitchen. Is this the house? Yeah. Grandma left the spirit of it to them but made them promise to always have room for good neighbors. Seems like you made room for yourself. I looked around the kitchen ready for tonight's gathering. The table Sarah had found. The chairs from Dr. Martinez. The dishes donated by nurses who understood starting over. The house I'd almost lost, filled with evidence of the community I'd chosen. Yeah. I did. Jennifer stayed for the potluck. Fit right in with the chaos of medical professionals decompressing. She and Sarah bonded over trauma stories. Dr. Martinez grilled her about Valley Medical's policies. The house filled with laughter, arguments about protocols, and the kind of warmth that comes from people who've seen too much but still choose connection. This is amazing, Jennifer said, helping me plate desserts. This whole thing, the house, the people, you. 6 months ago I was on the floor in an empty room. And now I'm home. The evening wound down slowly. Colleagues became friends, lingering over coffee. Stories shifted from work to life. Someone suggested making this a regular thing. My house is base camp for our chosen community. After everyone left, I found myself in the backyard under the oak tree where Lucas had broken his arm a lifetime ago. The moon was full, the desert air cool, peaceful in a way I'd forgotten existed. My phone buzzed. An unknown Ohio number. I almost didn't check it, but curiosity won. A photo. Lucas in marine dress blues. Graduation day. Standing straight, eyes clear. A man I didn't recognize wearing my former neighbor's face. No message, just the photo. I studied it for a long moment, then deleted it. Not from anger, not from pain, but because that chapter was closed. That board was gone. And I'd learned the difference between holding on and being held back. Inside my house waited. Tomorrow's shift schedule on the refrigerator. Jennifer's thank you card on the counter, her number written inside. Sarah's forgotten Tupperware by the sink. Evidence of the life I'd built from the ashes of the one they'd burned. I locked the doors, set the alarm, and headed to bed. In the morning I'd prune those agaves or forget to. Either way was fine because this was my home, my life, my choice. And the note that had once defined betrayal, thanks for fixing our HOA credit, loser, had become something else entirely. A reminder that sometimes the worst moments break us open just enough to let the light in. They'd taken everything they could carry and left me with everything that mattered. The house, the truth, the chance to rebuild. And in the quiet of my bedroom, in the home I'd almost lost, I finally understood. They hadn't left me empty. They'd left me free. The rest was just beginning. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're hearing this from. What country? What city? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in my situation? And if this HOA drama resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Consider pressing the hype button too. It helps more people discover these stories of survival, betrayal, and ultimately triumph. Your support means everything. Until next time, remember, sometimes the community you choose is stronger than the board you're born into.